Be a friend, took an oath, now stick it out till the end. Now it's raining more than ever, know that we'll still have each other. You stand under my umbrella, you stand under my umbrella.
Well, good morning, everybody. I was very inspired by reading Marianne's words in the programme, and in connecting with what Peter just said, I thought something that might be quite equalising is that I'm going to read you the opening lines of the Canterbury Tales in their original English, the language of Chaucer, which is as much a foreign language for us as it is for people all over the world. So I think this will be a generally unifying experience from us, hearing a language which none of us actually speak. So I'll do my best for you. One that April with his showers suitor, the drought of March hath passed to the rooter, and bathed every vein in switch liqueur, of which thereto engendered is the flour. When Zephyrus, eke with his sweeter breath, inspired hath in every holt and heath tendre cropes, and the younger son hath in the ram his half that coursey run, and smaller fowlers maken melody, that slippen all the nicht with open ye, so pricketh hem nature in her courage.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. And that's a special welcome through an Aborigine song, which you might think is a bit strange in the centre of one of England's most English of cities, but it's to really emphasise the message that Peter has already given, that this is an international conference and we're wanting to reach out to all corners of the world.
Good morning. Dear Dr. John Moss, Dean of the Faculty of Education from the Canterbury Church, dear Miss Susan Coles, President of the National Society for Education in Art and Design, right? Dear Dr. Rita Irvin, President of InSEA, distinguished guests, InSEA colleagues and friends, art education story and tale tellers. As we were reminded last year in Cyprus, InSEA European Regional Congress, we are all the time moving from here to there, from up to down, in and around the crossroads of cultures and languages. So let me allow, again, as in Cyprus, to say good morning to all of you in many of languages of participants. I hope it will be correct as much as possible. Jona Podkivano, Guten Tag, Sabah el Khair, Grüß Gott, Guten Morgen, Merhaba, Dobro jutro, Buenos dias, Hüva Humenta, Armaidin, Boreda, Bon dia, Boker tov, Anyom Haseyo, Gotag, Konnichiwa, Good morning, Dobre rano, Epotado, Atamari, Kalimera, Godan dagin, Tere paivast, Labrit, Godag, Namaste, Bonjour, Ni hao, Goeie morgen, Bon dia.
I want the lights dimmed because I've got lots of pictures that I want to share with you, because probably, like a lot of people in this room, I don't think in words, I think in pictures. I'd like to say thank you and welcome to everybody again, because I think it's a brilliant opportunity and a pleasure to welcome everybody to what is actually a very, very beautiful city. To Canterbury, to this Congress, to what should be just an amazing network of like-minded people. Usually when you're in a room full of creative people, you can pick it up, it's quite tangible. So I'm going to start with an introduction as to who I am and what I'm all about. And the reason I'm putting that picture up is I don't want to tell you the story of my life because you wouldn't want to hear it. But I do want to tell you that I was, like lots of children, the very quiet one at the back of the classroom who didn't really understand most of the things that I was doing in school. The one at the back of the classroom who really yearned for two things. One was to go to an English lesson and write stories, and the other one was to go into the art room where I could actually be alive and create my own world. I spent years in school being told I could do better at the things that mattered to other people, but not to me. That is my life before I discovered art.
I just thought that in the last 2 years, editing this
I've got the after lunch box just to the point where you want to go to sleep. It does remind me of 1980s when I was asked to give a talk at a local museum just after Henry Moore had died. And I came in like this, room about this size, this number of people, and right in the front row there was this old lady. And the moment I opened my mouth, she fell asleep. She snored loudly through my whole presentation, and at the very end she woke up and applauded loudly. So I promised Peter that I wouldn't go on beyond my time allotted. So I'll wake you up at 2 o'clock, all right? Actually, to make matters worse, he was showing me the lights and how to dim them, and so actually I could dim them right down, but I'll leave that as was. No, I'll just leave it as was. I think it's all right, but if I find you all falling asleep, I'll just tiptoe out. Tales about art and art education. I was sorely tempted just to tell tales from my own experience for the next half hour, because that, I think you'd have a lot of fun, but that's more of an after-dinner speech, so I'll resist that temptation, and instead, what I want to talk about is what we teach. This particular talk is specifically about art. I could talk about craft and design. My research was into that too, but I don't have time. So I'm just going into the fine art curriculum, sometimes called visual art. And I'm talking about the post-compulsory sectors. That's where we actually consider we're training artists. But I'm sure this will have ramifications for all sorts of other sectors as well. So.
Traditional Japanese game.
How about this? Snow. Could you help? Could you help? Could you help? Could you help? Oh! Can you see it's like snowing in Canterbury?
Possibly to say Mitate is a double image. Now I will show you some simple example. First, this is really simple example. I choose one from Rakugo. Rakugo is comic stories. Now, so what is he doing?
He's eating.
Yes, that's right. With
Chopsticks.
oh, yes. In Rakugo, comedians have to express their story using their body, only body, but they are only allowed to use this one. holding fan
And
and technically Japanese
Only two
traditional
things.
towel. Only two things. But they can express everything with these two equipment too. Please imagine something from Ashram. Then share your idea with other members and choose one team in a group. Secondly, please create a scene based on the theme. Finally, make a movie about this scene using my iPad. Today, we use application named Koma Koma to make a stop motion movie.
okay, let's start. Why don't we start with using iPad first and test it? And so you can get some ideas. The point is you don't plan very much in advance. You just do it and revise it.
Serious insect. Or maybe he's even wearing them out.
So if people knows these original paintings, they can see, aha, you see connection. And you can see another connection from Europe, Italy. You want more? There's something like this. So this kind of inspiration is very popular in Japan too. You don't really create from the real scratch, and you can get something. Then people can enjoy the gap. If you know the original things, you can say, aha. So that kind of ideas. So I want to try. We have maybe 20 minutes more. So would you make one more work? Then we're gonna discuss later. Could you try one more thing?
Okay, now let's really
Should we do this sound effect?
Fly
Yeah,
some effect. We haven't.
Our inspiration came from this
Yes.
Shiva, I think it is, Alan Shiva. And we thought of an insect.
Insect.
Yes.
with many legs.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Maria Jose, I am Chilean, but I'm studying my PhD in Barcelona, in the University of Barcelona, and it's a PhD in art and education. And what I wanted to see is what happened when a group of young people that were born in our democracy go into this museum, and how do they react, how do they feel, if they identify it or not, and to see how the relationship is in comparison also to my generation, that is between the two periods. I was born in '82, so I have some remembers from dictatorship. And it's very hard for us still to talk about this, because we have families that were implicated, and in school we never talk about this issue. We didn't study it in history. So it's one of the photos from this personal project. This is a torture machine, and this is Maria. She was one of the most shyest participants, and I think she's one of the only person in the group that didn't came there for photography, but for the issues about memory, because she had two uncles that were disappeared, and it was something that was not taught in her family. So she said, I asked, we talk about the photos, I put the text in our blog, but then for the exhibition I asked them to write something about it. So she wrote, my neighbor, a murder, a dead instrument. The faceless torture agent is today between us, thanks to impunity. So it's interesting to how they made a lot of links with the present. So even if this is something that is to the past, but there are many issues about reparation that must be talked about. So this is the blog I made. I wanted to make it's a photo I made from a mural that is in Santiago and next to another museum. And I wanted to give color to the concept of memory, that we always treated in black and white with very old photographs. And I wanted to make something that we can approach it in a creative way, and it is a sad subject. We are still in this process of mourning, but we can also enjoy our workshop in the museum. So I think it was also important to have a critical regard to the exhibition. So I asked them to bring objects, and I said, if you were here curator of this exhibition, what objects would you bring to this place? So one said, it's a photo, a book of Lenin. So he said, what happened before 73? So you can't explain history just making a cut here. Before 73, there was the Cold War, there was communism, there was many ideological process. And our history in this museum is a product of what happens before. So I'm missing this part of the history. She made many representations of the victims and how they had, she talked about the different abuse they had suffered, also violations, and she said, for me as a woman it's important to talk and represent this. And for us was like very, at the beginning, shocking maybe to see this, because I couldn't represent it like she is doing. And so I started to see that they had some distance, and they could talk about everything. They were like very open, and they hadn't like ideological approach, but much more humanitarian approach to all the subject. The educators, they were very happy with the project, and they want to make more things like that, but they don't have time. They have like a lot of visits of groups, scholar groups. Most of the visitors are scholar groups or European people, tourists. For example, my mother, she never went there. She said, I can't go, it's like too hard. Then when she saw that I was spending a lot of time, she said, okay, I'm going to. And she called me and said, I was there, but I couldn't like go more than the first room because it's too much for me.
Lots of, literature.
Que metemos la mano en la nariz. Mario likes, solamente porque él quiere hacer una foto.
However, when I spoke to the school, the Year 6 children, only 3 out of the 30 had ever visited an art gallery before, and I just thought that was really shocking. When I spoke to them more in depth about their experiences of art in school, they said to me that they'd only ever seen either pictures on a computer or postcard reproductions of artwork. If you've had a look at the new draft national curriculum, there's no emphasis on children going to art galleries and also looking at more historic British artists, not things that are maybe more current today and that they can learn from. And that's why I think it's vital that children really do come and work in contemporary art galleries, because they do have the opportunities to work with local artists.
So we could do something.
What are all the best things always?
We've just started a Saturday.
I really enjoyed doing the art internship, especially when we created our own workshop in collaboration with the InSEA Art Cooper Gallery. We actually took a group of children into the gallery space. From the workshop, the children were really engaged. It was really interesting to see how they interacted within the gallery space and how it was different from how they interact and engage with work in a classroom. It's very different, and they were a lot more enthusiastic to actually work in an art gallery, and they loved the fact that they could put their artwork actually in the gallery itself.
Great pleasure to invite you all to come to Melbourne, Australia for July 2014. Thank you very much.